Welcome back to ciLiving. You might be noticing some different types of pests around your home or plants this time of year. Ryan from the University of Illinois Extension is here to teach you what to look out for and why these bugs are popping up. So Ryan, today you have brought a jar filled with ladybugs, which I know are a problem because a couple of days ago on this show, I had a guest that had one crawling all over her shirt during our segment. So why are these ladybugs everywhere?
Well, I collected this jar over the weekend when it was really sunny on Saturday, and we have a south-facing wall on our home, and these guys were just all over it. So, I mean, in a couple of minutes, I could collect a whole jar full of these. Asian lady beetles is actually kind of the common name we usually refer to them by, but their name kind of implies they're not from here, right? You usually hear me talking about insects in a good way. In this case, these guys are kind of a pest. They're kind of the bad guys.
Yes.
But, you know, their story is really interesting in that we intentionally introduced these little critters, and it's because they actually do good things for agriculture. They are a predator of other insects that feed on our agricultural crops. So as far back as the early 1900s, folks had tried to introduce this, you know, natural pest control. And it wasn't until the 80s that a population of these guys actually took off, and they've just spread across the continent, you know, just on their own.
And you mentioned that they eat other bugs. Like, is it like the aphids and stuff like that? Like, what are they eating that are, like, sort of helping? Do they eat mosquitoes? Anything that eats mosquitoes, sign me up.
I don't think they eat mosquitoes. It's smaller stuff, but you're right. Aphids, some of the scale insects that are, you know, really problems on a lot of the different crops we grow, from fruit crops to even some of the larger agricultural crops, like a few pests of soybeans these guys have taken care of. And they've actually had an impact on some of these pest populations and brought them into a little better control since we've introduced them. So what we didn't realize, though, is that they would become so plentiful and everywhere. We didn't realize they would actually outcompete our native ladybugs. So we've seen a decline in our native population of this type of insect. And we also didn't know that they would crawl into every crack in our home and come inside in the wintertime and fall in your cup of coffee first thing in the morning. Exactly.
I was going to say, they drop from the fans at my house all the time. We went for a hike this weekend and then got home, and then a few minutes later, one just fell off the ceiling fan. Another insect that we wanted to talk about today were stink bugs. So what's the deal with stink bugs? How did they get here, and what's their deal? Well, this is the
brown marmorated stink bug. So marmorated means kind of marble-ish in color, so you can kind of see that marbling on this stink bug. Was also introduced from another continent. We're not really sure how this one got here, but popped up in the early 2000s and has slowly kind of spread with our help in this case, because these little guys love to hitch a ride on a boat, a camper, anything that can kind of crawl into a crack. They really like human-made structures. So we've actually kind of sped up their movement around the U.S. by moving around ourselves, but they're doing the same thing as these ladybugs this time of year, where they're seeking some winter habitat, a place where they can overwinter, and they really kind of almost go dormant, kind of like a plant in the wintertime. What happens in our homes, though, is we have enough heat that they aren't exposed to that natural coolness that makes them kind of go into this dormancy.
Oh, interesting.
And so they just kind of wander around our house all winter, and there's not a food source for them. So they, you know, you probably find lots of these ladybugs dead in the corners of the floor and other places over time in the winter. So. So it really kind of stinks for them. They're like misled to come into our homes and think this is where they need to be. But really, it's not going to help them complete their life cycle or really do anything for them to be trapped in our homes.
Yeah, so we basically provide them good transportation, but then not such good shelter once we transport them to where they shouldn't be. And they actually kind of look like those bugs that I'm still mad at that you taught me about that decimated my pumpkin plant this year. What is the kind of difference? Like, are they related to those, what are they, squash bugs?
Yeah, they're similar to squash bugs. Yeah, they all kind of have that kind of shield-shaped back is how we kind of compare them all. So they're similar. That's another pest, you know, of vegetable crops outdoors. These guys actually feed on a lot of things that we eat too as humans. And where they first started on the East Coast, they're actually a big problem on a lot of different fruit crops and vegetables and things where they don't actually consume the whole plant, but they feed on it and cause some damage. So that's problematic for growers.
Right. Well, Ryan, thank you so much, as always, for bringing us cool bugs and for teaching us about, you know, sort of what to do and what not to do. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It was fun.